Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lens Life, where we discuss the impact of glass. And we're here to educate, motivate, and inspire those who are in photography or looking to, maybe make it a full-time career. And I am so excited to have my second TikTok guest, Eli Jones, who is a real estate photographer business owner, and educator. So Eli, thank you so much for being here.
Phil, yeah, it's my pleasure. Looking forward to talking with you.
Yeah, I mean, I actually saw you on YouTube prior to seeing you on TikTok.
Yeah.
And then I saw you on a live on TikTok and was just like, hey, man, let's chat. Between the experience that both of us have had in the real estate photography world, I just figured we'd have a lot to chat about. And it's such a niche, you know what I mean? Like not just photography, it's not wedding, it's just its own beast.
Yeah,
So just looking forward to chatting with you. So tell us
absolutely.
a little bit about where you started from and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, well, long story short, I was always kind of interested in cameras and videography and that sort of thing. I grew up in Alaska and I spent a lot of time skiing. And when you ski when you're younger, no one believes that you did that backflip or anything like that. So you have to get it on camera. So that was my introduction to cameras. And then when I was about 16, maybe 15 and a half or so, actually, my parents decided to move back to Texas where they had originally gotten married and lived for a while. So moved down here, didn't know anybody. There's obviously no snow in Texas. So basically all I had was my camera and nothing to do. So started playing with that some more. I was always interested in making money. It was just something I was always excited about. It was fun for me, whether it was like cutting lawns and shoveling in Alaska or down here, I did some other things. And so I finally decided that I could probably use what I enjoyed with the camera and make money doing it, kind of combine both those things. So um, I started shooting like some small random stuff. Like I did some video stuff for a school. It was really awful. And then I took some portraits, like senior portraits occasionally, but nothing serious. I'm talking like less than $500 I'd made. And then my mom, when we moved down here, in order to save some commission on her personal house, and she thought it'd be something she was interested in, got her real estate license. And she only did it for like 6 months, quickly decided she didn't want to do it. But one time during that 6 month period, her broker asked her to take some cell phone photos of a listing. And that was super common, 7, 8 years ago when this first happened. It still is common today, but not as much so. And I was with her, I had my camera, and I was like, wait a second, like, you're going to use your cell phone. I have my camera. Let me give it a shot.
Right.
And I took the worst real estate photos anyone's probably ever seen because I didn't know what I was doing. I shot handheld, didn't use a tripod, no HDR, no flash, no way to get better dynamic range, and delivered the photos. First of all, spent like 4 hours editing a single shoot, delivered the photos. The agent loved them. I have no idea how, but that just shows, what we as photographers look at is sometimes different than what the client looks at. And it's kind of a snowball reaction from there. The agent loved them, asked if I could shoot some other houses, asked what I charged. I said $60, which obviously really cheap, but I was 16, super excited about it. So she gave me 4 houses, like within a week or two of that first one. And then it was kind of a cascade from there. I started getting more agents in her brokerage, still charging $60. Pretty quickly, probably within 2 months, I was shooting for just about everybody in that brokerage, spread to another brokerage, and then the rest is kind of history. Got too busy to shoot everything myself. My brother came along, Aaron, so we partnered up and started Norman and Young, which is the company name, both of our middle names. Worked really hard for a couple of years at that, hired a couple more employees, and today we're at 15 or 16 right now, I think. So just more of the same since then. It's been, I guess, 7 or 8 years since that first shoot. I'm just working at it.
Wow, that's awesome. And about how many shoots are you guys doing a week?
Yeah, I'd have to look at that. Probably 400 a month, I would
Okay.
say, is pretty average, but
Yeah.
it's been a minute. I have Jared who runs the business for me. And so I spend a lot more time on the course side of things now, but
Yeah.
probably about that. I mean, of course, there's busy season and dead season too. So it kind of depends.
I love that story. And it's very similar to mine. It just kind of grows from a passion. And like you said, that snowball where
Yeah.
people just see it, your name gets passed along, and that's how it grows.
Yeah.
Um, so now both you and I are educators in this field, and we can, teach someone exactly how to do what we do, which I think is amazing. And I
Yeah.
tell anyone, as long as you have a desire to do it and a love, like anyone can do it. I, I,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
truly believe that. I think the biggest thing that gets in the way is people's like preconceived notions of they've got to do this or they have to have this camera or, and they think they know it all. But I think if
Yeah.
partner with someone who has experience, that truly anyone can do it.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted to build when we kind of put together our courses and offerings. Was I wanted to build what I wished I had, because there were so many stupid mistakes I made, and
Yeah.
just things that, like, if someone would have told me, I would have been like, oh great, and done it better the first time. And so really our course started out as, actually, we were going to do sort of an employee training manual. I used this software called Trainual for a while and started building stuff out in there. And then we'd always kind of wanted to make a course at some point, and I was like, what am I doing? Why don't I just make the course, and that will, serve both purposes. So it's
Yeah.
fun to be able to, like, I don't know. If you learn from somebody else, you can do things so much faster.
Yeah.
And I tried to learn from other people, but there wasn't a whole lot 7, 8 years ago. There was like one or two guys out there who really, in my opinion, don't do things the way I would recommend doing them now. So
Yeah.
there's always ways to learn, but it's cool today to have a lot of resources out there.
So let's say someone, learns how to do real estate photography. They're good at the skill.
Yeah,
What's but they don't have a business. What's
yeah,
some of the biggest, questions you get at that point, or advice that
yeah. So the thing about real estate photography, and I'm sure other types of photography, I just can't speak to those because that's not where I built my business. But the thing about real estate photography specifically is it's 20% the skill and the process of shooting photos and making videos and 3D tours and that kind of stuff. That's 20% of the battle. The
yeah,
other 80% is everything to do with the business side of things. And that is why, to me, and I think a lot of others would say the same, so many people don't do well in the business because they're photographers, they're artists, they love that,
right,
but they don't understand that the business side is even more important and more critical to being successful. And because of that, they kind of chase the wrong things. They chase, we all do this, but some people do it worse than others. Unfortunately, we chase photo quality, thinking that's the only thing clients care about.
right,
We chase the equipment we have because we think we're going to be able to make better photo quality, which then the clients are going to like better. And so they chase down the wrong rabbit holes. And to me, what I've learned is you don't start with your desire and what you think the clients need. And this is very, like, top level. There's obviously, intricacies to this, but you don't start with what you think the clients need. You start with what the clients need, and then you build your services around that if you want to be successful. And so with our model at Norman Young, we don't charge. I mean, it depends on where you are in the country. So this may sound like a lot, it may sound like nothing, but we don't charge a lot for our area. We're pretty middle ground pricing wise. So we
mhm,
charge for our basic 36 or it's 40 photo package. Now we charge 175. So if you're
yeah,
in California and you're charging, 800, 900, you're probably like, what the heck? Or maybe if you're in Oklahoma, you charge a little less. But wherever you are, it's super important to, I think, start with what the client's desire is. And one of their biggest desires is price.
right,
So you learn the client, hey, they want this many photos, 40 photos. They're willing to pay around 150, 200 bucks, and they would like them back in 24 hours.
yeah,
That's like the summary of it. Then you, as a business owner, if you want to be successful, have to say, okay, that's what the client wants. How do I operate within those confines and still be successful? And so that's where I think a lot of people go wrong, is they start the other way. They say, I want to offer the best quality product out there because they're an artist, they love it.
right,
I'm going to use the best gear and I'm going to show the house in the best light possible. Take the time to do it as I think it should be. But then they don't realize that clients don't want to pay for that. And so what happens, long story short, is there's this notion that real estate agents are cheap and I got to get out of real estate photography. I got to start shooting for builders and architects and licensing my photos. And that's what everybody thinks the trajectory is, but it was based upon a kind of a flawed notion to start. So that's, like, at a top level what my belief is in the industry. And obviously there's some things we also prioritize, but generally if you start with the client, you'll be more successful than if you start with what you think the client wants.
yeah. No, I definitely think that's totally true. And I think one of the, talking about preconceived notions, or like the allure of it, maybe on social, is like, oh, these beautiful houses, right? The $1 million houses, and I want to shoot that. Honestly,
Mhm.
I'd rather shoot the shack. I'd
Yep.
rather go in and do like the 1,200 square foot, tear down all day long.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Less stress, smaller. Um, the agent isn't as, high pressure. Um,
Hmm.
I think that's one of those things that, that's the low hanging fruit, and you do,
Yeah.
4 of those in a day versus this big one where, you're going to make more money doing a lot of the little ones.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so
more consistency. That's a big thing. I think a lot of photographers don't um, give as much weight to as they should. It is so important if you're going to have a business of any kind, whether that's just to support yourself full time or support a staff. it doesn't matter how much you make per shoot if you do one shoot a month.
Right.
The consistency is what's so critical. And that's why I love the type of real estate photography we do. Yeah, we shoot $1 million houses occasionally. I mean, we do a lot of shoots every week. So there's probably a few in there, but the vast majority and our bread and butter, to use that term, comes from those in our market, pretty middle ground homes, which are 175,000 to 400,000. We shoot lots of those every day, and having that consistency is what's allowed us to scale,
Yeah.
because there's just not that volume of $1 million homes. There's not that many in any city, and so if you can, especially in a city like we're in Dallas Fort Worth or any middle market. If you're on the coasts, you might get lucky and get a place with a lot of those, but that doesn't even take into account what you said, which is it's so much faster to shoot the small ones. It's less pressure. It's just nice. I don't know. I love it. Like you always like to go into a nice house and enjoy it. But honestly, I'm like, when I pull up to a really nice house and I know that's the shoot, I'm like, oh, come on. Like, I want the small ones I can get in and out. And that chasing those shoots, I'm not saying we're chasing trash houses. They're still nice houses. They're average houses that normal people live in. We chase those, and we do a lot of them a day, and we do a lot of them every day. And so we have that consistency. And, that's what built the business for me.
Yeah. And I mean, I would say if anyone wants that, that's like one of their goals. There's no need to chase it. They will come,
Yeah.
because even the people who are selling the little shacks, they get the other ones too. Um,
Yeah.
my experience, and I don't know if you can speak to this, is I'd rather have one agent who does, or a team who does 20 listings a month versus 20 agents who do one listing a month. The reason being is they have a system, and they're just
Yeah.
going to work with you. You become part of their team, right?
Yeah.
And you experience less customer service versus like the
Yeah.
agent who gets one or two listings a year. They
Yeah.
like can drive you nuts wanting
Yeah.
everything photoshopped, or just so intense because
Yeah.
all their energy is focused in on this one thing versus the team who is just going, going, going.
Just going. I mean,
And
it's like in any business, there's sort
yeah,
of the 80-20 principle, right?
yes,
Like,
exactly.
20% of your clients are going to drive 80% of business results. And that's something we've been talking about here at my company, Norman and Young, recently, is like, we have those clients that we probably spend, maybe 50% of our customer service time on. And I know it drags on, Kayla's the one here answering phones. It drags on her when we have these really, irritated clients who act like we did everything wrong, and it just weighs down your team. And so not only do we try to focus on those volume clients and volume brokerages, but we try to stay away from the people that are, one shoot every month, even, that are higher maintenance, because it's not anything you're doing wrong as a business, but it takes up your business's time and makes you feel bad about yourself if the client's always like, this wasn't right, this wasn't right. So we try to stay away from that, and really work towards the clients who, like you're saying, they do those 20 listings a month or whatever. Maybe it's a big team and they share a bunch, but that's the type of client you have to chase if you want to build the type of business I have, which is, it kind of has a stable base built on volume. There are ways to do it where you can chase the high end listing and go that route, but for me, I always wanted to scale my business. I wanted to have employees. It's very hard to scale a business and have employees when people are buying your expertise as the photographer
Right,
instead of your process. And
right.
so for us, they buy our process. They don't care who shows up, because all of our photographers, they know our process, and our editing team knows the editing process. And so we're able to build a stable base. Whereas if we're shooting, $7 million listings where they're paying us, Mike Kelly prices of $1,000 a photo, and to really put our, all of our expertise into a photo and make the best photo possible, I can't hire someone to do that. They'd have to have years of experience, and they'd have to develop that. So it's just not the same type of business. Nothing bad about that. I love that kind of stuff. That would be fun to do as like, a side or a bonus thing, but it's not how I built my business, not the base of my business.
Yeah. All right. So let's say, someone's starting out and you got your price point of 175. There's all, in my area, there's about 6,000 agents. What
Hmm.
what tips do you have? It can be very difficult to get your foot in the door, right? And
Yep.
they need to meet you. They need to see your process. So what are some of your tips to your students
Yeah.
that get the ball rolling? Because sometimes that can be very daunting.
Yeah, I would say getting the ball rolling is the hardest part, especially if you're, putting weight on the things that don't matter. So, what I would first say is that you have to understand, probably more than anybody understands at the start, how relational this business is, and how not driven by your product it is. A lot of people go in, they think they need to make the best product, and if their product is good, they will win. That's not true. I'm not saying you have to have I'm not saying you can have a bad product, but you have to get your product to a certain point. But what you have to do is have people know, like, and trust you, right? That's not my phrase. That's, I forget where that comes from, but that's a big phrase in sort of the business world, is if someone knows you, they like you, and they trust you, they'll do business with you. So how do you get them to do that? Well, there's some tactics, which I'll get into in a second, but I would say overall, you have to be in a mindset and a position that you're going to do anything possible to make the client love you and love your service.
Mhm.
And so what that means is you go out of your way to make their life easier. There's a couple like little ways you can do that. Obviously, you can show up on time. That's a big one. If you're late, it makes people's lives harder and they don't trust you as much. You can show up well dressed. A lot of photographers show up in whatever they want. They don't look great, and that doesn't reflect on the agent's client well.
Right.
Once you get in that shoot, and we'll talk about how to get that shoot in a second. Once you get in that shoot, don't be the guy that says, "Oh, I can't move stuff due to insurance," or, "Oh, the house needs to be ready when I get there." It can be ready. It should be ready as possible, but be willing to spend 10 to 15 minutes to tidy up the house. A lot of people say, "Oh no, don't do that." That's how I built my business. So it worked for me. Just being as if you're on their team, and letting them feel that, they should feel like you're on their team.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing we do, is spend a few minutes prepping the house. And overall, we go out of our way to make the customer service experience as good as possible, because that does two things. One, it makes the agent's life a lot easier. And two, it makes them much more likely to refer you. I personally don't want to have to go sell and get a lot of clients myself. I'd rather my clients sell for
Yeah.
me. And
Mhm.
so if you treat your clients really well, they do that. Aaron and I, when we were in the business, we didn't reach out to that many clients. I mean, we did to get the kind of ball rolling, and I'll talk about that in a second. But once you get that, 10, 12, 15 clients working with you, all you have to do is serve them exceptionally well, and they will refer you more than you could ever do on your own. So getting into that mindset of knowing that, like, you have to serve the client like exceptionally well. Don't be focused on you. Don't be that artist that feels like you're being ripped off. Go out there, put in the work, serve the client as best you can. Now, in order to get those clients in the first place, we've tried a lot of different stuff. The best thing, hands down, and I know this is like sort of heresy in the photo industry, is to give away free work at the start.
Yeah.
And the reason it works in real estate, and probably the reason it's thought of not in a good way in other types of photography, is if you give away a free wedding, it's not going to result in a whole lot of other weddings, probably. I
Right.
still would probably do that if I was getting started for experience. But in real estate, if I give a shoot away to Sarah in order to get Sarah's business and she likes it, I will probably get Sarah's business again and again and again, and whoever Sarah refers me to. So what our strategy is, and we recommend people do this, is you make an Instagram account for your photo business. You post 8 to 10 posts. 5 are product related. So here's some photos of houses, and 5 are about you and your company. So, hey, you have a post that's a portrait of you, or a portrait of you and your family, or whatever. Hey, I'm Eli. I'm just starting as a real estate photographer. I've loved this industry for a while, and I'm super excited to start working this. You introduce yourself, you build rapport in those posts. You set up your Instagram, then you go through, and this is just like straight tactic, but if you do this, it works really well. It's pretty much what all of our students do. You go to Instagram, still on Instagram, go to the search button, go to tags, and you search like Dallas realtor, if you're in Dallas, or your city realtor, right? Hashtag your city realtor. The people using those hashtags are more likely than not real estate agents. No one's tagging Dallas realtor if they're not a real estate agent. So you go through those, you can search by hashtag, obviously, follow everybody that's using that hashtag, and find the 8 other hashtags they're using in your area. In our area, there's some specific brokerages. We have a brokerage called Rogers Healy. So follow all the people who are using hashtag Rogers Healy, or Keller Williams, or Remax, or all of those. And what that's going to do is a couple things. One, it's going to start getting you a following back. 1 out of every 10 that you follow might message you back, or might follow you back. And then once they start to follow you back, the good strategy is to engage with their posts a little bit, comment, do that kind of thing. Do it genuinely. Don't be a troll, but start engaging. And then eventually go to your list of people who follow you, who all should be realtors, because it's a brand new Instagram and you only follow realtors, and start messaging them and offering them a free shoot. Now, the people who are the most successful with this, they do a video DM. So they'll whip out their phone and say, "Hey, blank, I'm Eli, and I'm a real estate photographer. Been following you on Instagram for a little bit. Would love the chance to earn your business by giving you a free shoot. I believe in my product, and my best way to get that in front of you and show you that is just to offer it for free. So if you have another listing coming up, or a listing you want the photos refreshed on, let me know. I'll do anything you want. All my services for free if you want." So that's a great way. It's the easiest way to get the ball rolling. And when I tell people that, there's like 50% that just done, I'm doing it. And the other 50% outsmart themselves, and they say, "Well, I don't really want to do free shoots. I'm going to do half off, or I'm just going to offer shoots and make them pay me." And then 6 months later, they're in our Facebook group saying, "Hey, I'm not really getting any traction. No one's really taking me up." And then, people talk with them, they get more into what's going on. They're like, "Hey, I'm offering half off or full price," And so it really works. to get your foot in the door and get started offering free work. Again, you don't have to do this forever.
Right.
10 to 15 clients gets the ball rolling, but that is that's like the simplest and most straightforward way that, people that join our course get clients in the first week. You just do that and it works.
Yeah.
So it's one thing I highly recommend.
Yeah. And important thing to remember for people who aren't as familiar with real estate is that, like, I've done that for agents who are, they might only have one listing. For me, it doesn't really matter who the agent is because
Yep.
it goes into the MLS. So
Yep.
everyone's going to see it. It's good, and they will be asked, who did that for you? Or
So
they'll,
the funny thing,
yeah,
we've sorry to cut you off. This is just hilarious. People do this is they outsmart themselves again. So they say, okay, I agree with the Instagram method, but I'm only going to reach out to top performing agents.
right,
So the fallacy there is that if you reach out to top performing agents, they don't care to message you back. They don't need the 150 free dollars. They already have a vendor. You're not going to get their business.
right,
So rather than try to snipe out those top agents and then wonder why you don't have results, message everybody. The brand new agents are the most likely to use you because they're strapped on money. Yes, they don't have a lot of referrals, but like you said, it gets the photos in MLS, gets your name out there.
yeah,
And our best evangelist agents, the ones that share our name the most, are those agents that we started working with when they were brand new to the business,
yeah,
and we just made their transition to success as easy as possible. We help them along the way, and they love us and they refer us so much. There's
right,
one guy I know that we work for named Jeremy, who we probably have 150 clients because of just Jeremy.
yeah,
And so that's the thing you don't want to do is, like you just said, you don't want to prioritize those high performers. Reach out to everybody. You
right.
never know who's interested.
Yeah, don't prejudge or whatever. And
Yeah,
Jeremy might not even be a big producer or whatever, but he'll spread you
yeah,
everywhere. And
exactly.
I love, like, there's been so many agents where we've been just such a huge part of them growing as an agent.
Yeah,
And those are the ones who become your biggest fans because they know that one of the biggest reasons they're successful is because of the photography. I mean, it's so crazy.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean it's huge. I mean, if you think about the way real estate is sold has changed dramatically over the last 15 to 20 years. Back then you went to the broker's office or the agent's office, you met with an agent, you told them what you wanted, they went out and found the houses. Completely different now. You go to Zillow, you find the house, then you call the agent, and because of that, photos really matter. I think a lot of photographers go wrong. They say photos matter for the wrong reasons. Oh, it's going to help sell the house 39% faster. That means nothing to the agent. But what it is going to do is it's going to make the agent look good and help the agent win the next listing
yep.
because they're known as someone who puts the effort into market. And so that's a huge thing is knowing what the photos are for and why they help the agent. It'll grow a business quickly if you understand that.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a big part of the learning process is becoming, like, just so familiar with real estate. Again, it's this niche, right? And you
Yeah.
need to speak their language. You need to know what they go through. I was an agent for 10 years prior to becoming a photographer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I knew their world, and
Yeah.
their challenges and everything. So, um, again, if you align yourself as part of their team, you know what they're doing to get that next listing, everything. I think that's a huge part that helps you grow. And,
Definitely.
having a vested interest in them. I love going to, like, the next shoot and being like, hey, how did 123 Main Street go?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just always remember, like, the last shoot I was on with them.
Yeah.
And
When you're building an actual relationship with them, it's not this fake, like, oh, use me again. You're trying to, invest in them with your time and your sort of relationship with them. And I think that's super, super important.
yeah. So those are some great tips. Are there any other ones that are standing out? I'm definitely in the corner
Yeah.
of free shoots because it gets you out there, and that's all that
Yeah.
has to be done.
That's all that has to happen. The last thing I would say is, there's a lot written on this topic in the service business world, but it's super evident in real estate photography that the more raving fans you get, the better your business will do. You're never going to get everybody to be a raving fan, but if you have 5% of your clients that are literally in love with your business, you will have a big business pretty quickly. And so that's the last thing is everything we kind of talked about fits into that category. If you can create raving fans, your business will grow and you will be successful. And the people that aren't successful, they don't have those raving fans. The people that are, they do. And so that to me is like the metric and the sort of like manifestation of all that stuff being put together well. If you do everything we just talked about, you will create raving fans. And when you have raving fans, your business will be successful.
Yeah. So let's wrap it up with kind of the impact of glass. So when I was starting Lens Life, um, real estate photography was getting, I've been in it a long time, was getting a little tired, but I sat there and I thought about, what impact it changed my life, right?
Hmm.
I went from working at a desk to being on, doing something creative and loving it.
Yeah.
But also like no one knows who I am, but my photos have been seen by millions of people. Like that's crazy to
Yeah.
think about. I help.
Yeah, and you have a lot of chance. I mean, your photos help people get out of situations that they don't need to be in, help them move
Yeah.
on to what they're doing next in their life. And it's a great business. If you scale, you can provide jobs in your community. So it's fun. And there's definitely a lot. I think a lot of people stay away from real estate because they don't think of it as, ultimately that creative of a field. And maybe in the photography, it's not, but there's still tons of creativity to be had. And more importantly than anything, it is much better to work a 9 to 5 shooting real estate and then shoot whatever you love to do after than it is to work a 9 to 5 at your corporate job and then shoot whatever you love after. At least you're in the photography business full time. So I
Yeah.
think it's a great, and I'm biased because I'm a real estate photographer and I love it, but I don't think there's another type of photography that as quickly or as stably will allow you to build a business than real estate. So even if it's not something that you just like naturally love, try it. It's something that can give you a solid base to build your other photography desires on top of, and get the gear you want, shoot the type of work you want to do, but not have to rely on that work to pay your bills. Let real estate do the other stuff for fun or passion.
Yeah. And I also saw on your course offerings, portrait. So like
Yep.
if you're a wedding photographer, portrait. The other day I got asked to shoot a promo video for a restaurant and some bands.
Yep.
You will get asked everything on these shoots from
Yep.
the homes that you're in, which again can sometimes be very influential people, like
Yeah.
when you're in these big houses, to the realtors. So many connections get made, and I don't know how to take a photo of a person. So
Yeah.
my income could be a lot bigger from doing weddings and portrait, but it's just not something I'm interested in. But if you
Yeah.
do have that interest, the other avenues, of income can be huge.
Yeah, that was the same with me. I took portraits one time of agents when I first started, and none of the agents said anything. But then one agent said, "Hey, Eli, I just wanted to tell you this because I think will help you. None of us are going to use those headshots." So years after that. And we got asked probably, I don't know, over 100 times to shoot portraits, headshots, weddings.
Yeah.
And so we don't teach weddings, but headshots work perfectly with real estate because all the agents need headshots. And I was like, this is a bad business. We need to figure out how to make this happen in a way that agents like and add that on. So that's why we made the headshot course, because everybody will get asked so much to shoot headshots. So the more ability you have to say yes to that kind of stuff, typically I think the better. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there's definitely, you'll get opportunities to shoot videos for companies if you like that kind of thing. Weddings, we get asked all the time. Portraits more than anything. There's just so much other opportunity you can find.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's also just an opportunity to partner yourself with other vendors in your area for things that you
Yeah,
don't do, so you can be that
definitely.
resource for your clients and at least point them in the
Yeah.
direction. Um, all right, man. Well, where can people find you if they have more questions and want to get started with you?
Yeah, on my public profile, I have a TikTok that's at it's Eli Jones. We post a lot of stuff on there, so that's probably where I'd start. If you don't want to go TikTok and you want to go straight to one of our courses, the link is classes.itselijones.com/REPP. My course is called Real Estate Photographer Pro, so you can just search that as well. But if you have TikTok, I recommend starting there. You can get to know me a little bit, kind of see what we do, that kind of thing. Get a couple videos every day, keep up to date. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for chatting with Lens Life here, and
Of
maybe we'll
course.
come back again. You're a great wealth of knowledge and just a really inspiration for people who are looking to do this.
Love to anytime. Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll see you later.
See ya.